Welcome to today's World News Update for May 13, 2023. Here are the most important stories from around the globe. Meteorologists targeted in climate misinfo surge. Tens of thousands march against Serbia's populist leadership. Colombian Navy seizes largest narco-submarine in history. Israel kills senior Gaza commanders as rockets cause first death in Israel. Russia tried to destroy US-made Patriot system. Canada, extreme heat dome temperatures set to worsen wildfires. Amazon deforestation down 40% so far this year. Number of internally displaced people hits record due to war, climate change. Lithuania says EU must prepare for risk of decoupling from China. Stay informed and stay safe, and join us tomorrow for more world news updates. Meteorologists targeted in climate misinfo surge. France 24 reports that meteorologists are being targeted online by conspiracy theorists and climate change deniers who accuse them of falsifying or manipulating the weather. In Spain, members of the state meteorological agency received threatening messages on social media after users falsely accused the agency of engineering a drought. Meanwhile, in Australia, claims were made that the Bureau of Meteorology had doctored temperature readings. Experts who analyzed the data said the claims were inaccurate. Alexander Lopez Borrell, a lecturer in Information and Communication Sciences at the Open University of Catalonia, said that there has been a significant increase in climate change denial, particularly among far-right supporters who see it as a leftist cause and oppose reforms aimed at curbing its impacts. Tens of thousands march against Serbia's populist leadership. Tens of thousands of people marched in Belgrade, Serbia's capital, and blocked a key bridge in the second large protest following two mass shootings that killed 17 people, including many children. The protesters gathered in front of the parliament building, then filed by the government's headquarters and onto a highway bridge spanning the Sava River. The demonstrators chanted slogans decrying Serbia's populist president, Aleksandar Vučić, whom they blame for creating an atmosphere of hopelessness and division in the country that indirectly led to the mass shootings. The protesters demanded the resignations of government ministers and the withdrawal of broadcast licenses for two private TV stations which are close to the state and promote violence. The two shootings happened within 2 days of each other and left 17 people dead and 21 wounded. Opposition parties have accused Vučić's populist government of fueling intolerance and hate speech while taking hold of all institutions. Colombian Navy seizes largest narco-submarine in history. The interception of the largest narco-submarine in Colombian history is a significant achievement in the fight against drug trafficking. The vessel, carrying 3 tons of cocaine, was intercepted by the Colombian Navy in the Pacific Ocean while en route to Central America, a major transit point for drugs to the United States. This seizure represents a historic milestone, surpassing all previous records since Colombia began keeping track in 1993. The detained crew members claimed they were forced by a drug trafficking organization to operate the semi-submersible and transport the illegal substances. Narco-submarines are homemade vessels constructed in Colombia and travel just below the water's surface, allowing them to evade detection while covering long distances. The use, construction, commercialization, possession, and transportation of these semi-submersibles are illegal in Colombia, and severe penalties of up to 14 years in prison are imposed. Despite efforts to combat drug production, Colombia continues to face challenges, with record levels of cocaine production reported. The fight against drug trafficking remains an ongoing struggle, with profound impacts on the country and the international community. This seizure dealt a significant blow to the criminal organization, with an estimated market value of approximately $103 million. Israel kills senior Gaza commanders as rockets cause first death in Israel. This article reports on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestinian armed groups in Gaza, which has been ongoing for 3 days. Israel has launched airstrikes on Gaza, killing several senior figures from the Islamic Jihad group, including the head of their rocket force and his deputy. Palestinian groups have responded with rocket attacks on Israel, which have resulted in the first Israeli fatality in this round of fighting. Both sides seem determined to continue the violence, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stating that whoever comes to harm us, his blood is forfeit. International mediators, including Egypt, have been attempting to broker a ceasefire, but so far, these efforts have been unsuccessful. The article notes that both sides have suffered casualties, with at least 30 people killed in Gaza, including women and children, and at least one person killed in Israel. The conflict has prompted international calls for a ceasefire, but it is unclear whether these calls will be heeded. Russia tried to destroy US-made Patriot system. According to two US officials who spoke with CNN, Russia attempted to destroy a US-made Patriot air defense system in Ukraine last week using a hypersonic missile known as the Kinzhal or Killjoy. The attack was unsuccessful, and the Ukrainian military intercepted the missile using the Patriot system, marking the first known successful Ukrainian use of the advanced air defense system only weeks after it arrived in the country. US officials believe that the Russians were able to target the Patriot system by picking up on signals emitted from the system's powerful radar, which can detect incoming targets at long ranges but also makes it possible for the enemy to detect the Patriot battery and figure out its location. The interception took place on the night of May 4 outside of Kiev, Ukraine, and the Ukrainian air defenders fired multiple missiles from the Patriot at different angles to intercept the Russian missile, demonstrating their proficiency with the system. Ukraine has received at least 2 Patriot systems, one from the United States and one from Germany, to enhance its air defenses, which have previously been unable to intercept more modern Russian missiles such as the Kinzhal. Canada, extreme heat dome temperatures set to worsen wildfires. Western Canada is experiencing a heat dome weather system that is expected to worsen the wildfires that have already displaced tens of thousands of residents. Alberta currently has 75 active wildfires, with 23 out of control. Oil and gas production, which typically resists weather-induced shutdowns, has also been briefly shuttered in some areas. Firefighters and members of the Canadian military are working to prevent blazes from becoming too big and powerful. Despite the intensity of the 2021 heat wave, which killed more than 600 people in British Columbia, the current weather system is unlikely to cause widespread fatalities given the cooler nighttime temperatures. However, in some parts of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, temperatures will probably exceed more than 15 C over historical norms. A recent study found the upcoming heat dome has the clear fingerprints of climate change and has made record-breaking temperatures 5 times more likely. Amazon deforestation down 40% so far this year. Deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon is down 40% this year compared to the same period last year. However, it remains to be seen if this trend will continue during the dry season when forest loss typically peaks. On the other hand, land clearing in the Brazilian savanna has been trending up, with officials reporting a spike in deforestation this year. Number of internally displaced people hits record due to war, climate change. According to data published by the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, IDMC, the number of internally displaced people reached a record 71.1 million worldwide last year, a 20% increase since 2021, due to conflicts such as the war in Ukraine and climate calamities like monsoon floods in Pakistan. The majority of displaced people, 32.6 million, were due to disasters including floods, droughts, and landslides, while conflict and violence triggered 28.3 million internal displacements worldwide. The war in Ukraine alone caused nearly 17 million displacements last year. Lithuania says EU must prepare for risk of decoupling from China. Lithuania's foreign minister, Gabrielius Landsbergis, has warned that the European Union needs to prepare for a possible deterioration in its relationship with China, citing Taiwan as a particular risk. While he stated he was not advocating for a decoupling from China, he suggested that the EU must be ready for such a scenario. Landsbergis pointed to the break with Russia over its invasion of Ukraine as an example of such a situation. The EU has been struggling to recalibrate its relationship with China in the face of the country's growing assertiveness, with some leaders calling for a de-risking but not a decoupling from China.